Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to September's edition of VRM Insider. We are about a week early this month, but that's because we have a really good reason, and that reason is Boost and boosting your bookings. So it's a fabulous reason not to wait one more second, but to get this information into your hands as quickly as possible. This webinar was promised to you all when we did our Vrbo kind of webinar announcement upgrades a few weeks back. And we wanted to make sure that everybody who was interested in Boost got all the information in their hot little hands so they could go ahead and make a decision about Boost early instead of waiting to the last minute. And before we even go too much further into today's webinar, I just want to introduce everybody, and then we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. So my name is Tracy Sanderson, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at Virtual Resort Manager. And we have Braeden Flaherty, who is the Chief Product Officer over at Bluetent.
Hi, everybody. Great to talk to you again.
And then we have Maddie Paul, the Senior Sales Executive at Bluetent.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again.
And you may have a face on the screen that you don't recognize. That is the amazing Miss Stephanie Weiland from Coastal Realty and Property Management. She is their Director of Rental Services. She is an amazing client of ours. She is so right in the same boat with all of you. She is in property management. She is a VRM client. She has an amazing wealth of knowledge and information that she always shares with us, good, bad, and ugly. We're very, very partial to Stephanie. She's always coming on board, giving us great ideas, helping us, kind of know what to do, where to go, and then just from a property management standpoint, what's going on and how can we help and how she can help us. So today, she's on our call and she'll be on camera later on. She is going to be walking us through her experience with Boost. And so you're going to be able to hear directly from a property manager using VRM software, how Boost is going for her, what's happening, what that looks like, etc. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So just to kind of, I'm going to lead off the Rezfusion Boost conversation today with a reminder that we did make the announcement over a year ago that eventually we would be moving away from Vacation Bridge for your channel management. And what that looks like, where we're standing today, is that Rezfusion Boost is going to be our preferred partner for Vrbo, Airbnb, Booking.com, and Google. So we've already, Bluetent was with us just a few months ago, and we actually talked about Google Travel. So we're super excited to kind of hear a little bit more about that. But we're really digging in on what this looks like for those specifically who are going to have to transition off of Vacation Bridge and they're going to have to pick another provider. Our choice for you is Bluetent Boost. They are connected to our latest API. So if we want the latest and greatest, it's going to be Boost, right, guys?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to get ready to hand it over to Maddie and Braeden. If you have a question during today's webinar, please use the Q&A button down below. If you don't see it, just hover down towards the bottom of your screen and it should pop up. It'll say Q&A on it. Click on that, and that's going to open up a window and you can type in your questions. If it's applicable to where we are in the webinar, we'll stop right there and we'll answer it. If not, we'll just hold it to the end and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So I know that there's a lot to cover today, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. And as always, thanks so much for joining us today. Take it away, Maddie and Braeden.
Tracy, thanks so much for that intro. I just wanted to say, first of all, it's been great getting to know so many VRM clients from the Panhandle in Florida down to the Outer Banks, out to Tahoe. What a great group of clients to talk to. So first of all, why are we here today? We're talking about OTAs, or online travel agencies. And really at the end of the day, we want to expose our properties so we can drive more revenue. You guys are really good at what you do. You can probably fill your summer weeks, before you get up out of bed in the morning, but those shoulder season, those last minute availabilities, those those trouble houses, maybe they aren't, you know, the best of your inventory. If you had any vacancy at all last year, Boost can help you fill those weeks and drive that revenue. We do that through a number of ways. One of the ways you'll even see is through the billboard effect. By being able to advertise your brand on these channels, people are going to find you. Now, we need to be on these OTAs. What is the best way to do it? It's Boost. Boost is a channel management tool that's going to get you connected to, and as this great slide comes up here, I'm going to pull up our different channels. Google Vacation Rentals, Booking.com, Airbnb, and Vrbo. Now, all of these channels have great benefits and can expose you to a different marketplace, a different clientele, and really drive revenue for you. What Boost does is essentially gives you two-way sync calendars in your system. You guys are really busy. We want you to continue to do the majority of your work in VRM, pictures, rates, availability. All those things are going to flow through. So at the end of the day, Boost is meant to be an efficiency tool to save you time and to drive revenue. Now, I did want to acknowledge the fact that there may be some frustration that the vacation bridge is going away. It's a way you've been doing business for some point in time, but I did want to touch on that. These OTAs, they're hard to work with. They're constantly changing their technical specs. We're constantly meeting with them and getting new ways to do business, and it's really hard to keep up with them. So Bluetent comes in and works with companies like VRM to help take this off their plate. So the folks at VRM can concentrate on taking care of y'all, building great websites, and really refining the software.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I'm really excited to be talking to you today. It's been some great changes since we last spoke about a month ago. It's been really rewarding working with Jonathan and Tracy and the entire VRM team and learning more about the customers as a whole. You know, there's so much opportunity out there. It's really interesting to understand in the VRM customer base, we see a little bit lower usage of OTAs than we do with some of the other software partners we work with. And I think that's for a lot of good reasons. There's a lot of really strong businesses, people who are able to fill a lot of inventory directly and through other mechanisms, but really can't understate kind of what an important part of your reservation acquisition portfolio that OTAs can make. You know, in a lot of markets, we're looking at guests who may be aging out. And by connecting to channels you don't connect to, it's a good opportunity to bring awareness to your brand to a whole audiences that you might not be aware of. You know, you probably do fantastic repeat business. You have families that might come back year after year. But at some point, we know that those can you know, be affected by attrition. And so, you know, whether it's something like Booking.com, where you're getting greater exposure to international travelers, Airbnb, who's really built this kind of following and tribe of passionate younger travelers, Vrbo for the experienced vacation rental user. It's a really great opportunity to get some new eyeballs on your brand. And that's something that has been really important for Boost as a channel management tool from the start. There are other options out there that, you know, on the surface can be a little bit more full service, but it's at the expense of growing your brand and really getting that flywheel turning, because it can be kind of a failure if we just use OTAs for the value they bring in on those reservations themselves. We want to see those reservations turn into repeat guests, ideally direct bookers, of course, but ways that you can really get maximum lifetime value out of that. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing is to remember that we need to stay engaged, that channel management is, you can think of it like just another search engine that you need to be competitive in. And travel is an especially competitive space, right? You all have competitors in your market. You're probably, you know, looking at pricing on a daily basis, seeing how you compare to them. You're looking at how you're describing and rating your units. And so OTAs being hyper competitive, if there's one piece of advice we want to give our customers who are using Boost, is to stay engaged. You know, we want to make sure that you're monitoring inquiries that come in, that response rate is critical. We want to make sure that you're following up on reviews. You know, and certainly providing that end-to-end great guest experience. And so we have positioned Boost as more of a tool than a service. At the same time, I think one of the reasons a lot of people work with Bluetent is our deep professional services experience. We've been working in kind of the marketing realm for quite some time. Many of you might be working with our digital marketing team, using our PPC team, email marketing, et cetera. So we've got a staff full of experts who can help. And that's been really integral because that team informs the tool set that we build. They can also get involved and help you perform even better. So if you're maybe not seeing the results you wanted to see on a channel, talk to us. We've got experts who can coach you through that. And I think part of that is our implementation team when you're initially getting set up is also deeply experienced in the vacation rental industry, has the benefit of working with all of our other subject matter experts internally. And so while we position it as a tool because it's important for our customers to stay engaged, it's not necessarily set and forget. You're not on your own either. And I think that's a big difference, is that you've got a staff of, we're right around 100 folks, deeply familiar with VRM as software, familiar with the OTAs as a competitive landscape. And so it's a powerful tool, but it's backed by really knowledgeable people. I think if we look at the other way we approach distribution is quality. We are not a channel manager who's ever flown the flag of connecting to as many channels as we can. We know that each one of those channels brings, a little bit of you can think of it as technical debt. You can think of it as, it's one more place you have to monitor for messages. It's another channel where you need to understand their policies and some of the idiosyncrasies. So from the start, we've always been quality over quantity. We want to make sure that we're connecting people who are going to have connecting people to channels that have the greatest impact on their business. That started with Airbnb and then Booking.com. Most of our customers have had a reasonably acceptable connection to Vrbo, certainly a lot of room to improve out there. And so now by connecting the big four of Airbnb, Booking, Vrbo, and Google, we really have a portfolio of channels that can form, in most markets, 90+% of all of the possible kind of channel interest that you're going to find. Because these don't expand the number of rooms you can actually sell. We're just broadcasting them greater. And I think we see pretty diminishing returns after that. Of course, we're always looking at opportunities to grow our channel selection. As that landscape changes, we can bring on more. And that's certainly an ongoing process. Why did VRM choose us, though? It is that quality piece. The other approach is, we've been a preferred partner from the start with Airbnb. We've been a premier partner with Booking for 3 years running now. It's something we take pretty seriously. As Matt said, these are not easy to keep up with. I have weekly calls with Airbnb, weekly calls with Booking.com, comparing our roadmap with what they plan to release, providing feedback to them on policies, on tools, on approaches, maybe not having as much of an impact on some of those policies as we would like, but at least we have a voice there. And I think we're really lucky in that often we're able to see some changes coming into the industry before many competitors do. And so I think, if you do have a relationship with somebody at Airbnb, if you have a market manager or a home manager over at Booking, please do ask. Generally, their experience with Bluetent and Boost has been super positive. Yeah. So what makes it best in class? There's no silver bullet here. This is not an easy problem to solve. Number one is from the start, Bluetent has never been really a consumer-facing brand. We're successful when our customers are successful. It's our goal to promote professional managers. And so first and foremost, we want to make sure that you're able to represent your brand. You're not hidden behind somebody who's representing your inventory. That also means when customers inquire or have questions or want to learn more about a stay, they're connected directly to your team, and nobody's going to know more about your location and the properties than your team does, as opposed to a contracted reservationist or somebody like that. So we're always looking for creating lifetime value and growing your brands. As I mentioned earlier, we've got a skilled implementation team. That team has steadily grown over the last few years. They've grown into some really specific areas of knowledge too. We've got Airbnb experts, Booking.com experts, Google and Vrbo coming on now. And so, there's a lot to learn, especially if you're one of those VRM customers who's new to distribution or maybe new to one of these channels. Each one comes with their own set of complex rules and policies. And so figuring out what the right cancellation policy is for you, figuring out how to accurately represent your amenities when maybe there's not an exact match in their system, how to tailor your descriptions, how to make sure photos are properly formatted, even communication standards and things like that. There's a lot to track there. And so by working with Bluetent, you do have some guidance from the implementation team and can help you make decisions that really benefit your business while at the same time keeping you in control. I think one really important aspect for VRM customers is our ability to provide ongoing improvements. This is something that, you know, the VRM engineering team, if they had their way, would be putting 100% of their energy into VRM software, into making it as great as it can be for your needs, responding to new feature requests and things like that. And when a channel comes in with a new spec and requirement, it can really derail that momentum and those plans. There's often not a lot of warning. And so, yeah, that's where we're really excited to help, because we've got a team who's dedicated to that. I've got a full-time engineers. All they're working on is distribution, staying current with capabilities, optimizing distribution, et cetera. So it's not just a line of business. It's really core to what we're doing.
Yeah, and as Braeden mentioned, it's really the best of both worlds. You get to own your brand, you control the funds, you're the merchant of record whenever possible, but you have a really strong team behind you. And especially if you're new to the OTA scene, Bluetent can help you, you know, learn cancellation policies, learn communication, optimize your listings. We can be a great advocate for people who are new to these platforms, because you know, we're in them every day. As Braeden mentioned, we're meeting with Airbnb once a week and passing along your feedback about extenuating circumstance policies and all of these things. You have a voice with us, and but you still get to maintain your own voice. On Airbnb and Booking.com, you'll never see our logo. We always allow our customers to advertise their brand. The only reason you're even seeing it on Google right now is because they were surprised that we wanted to do that. We went to them and told them that we wanted to advertise our clients, and they just weren't built to do that. So that'll be built out through this year, and you won't even see us there. So your brand is foremost in front. And you know, another thing too we wanted to touch upon is pricing accuracy. You would think that it's something that comes standard in this industry, but unfortunately it's not. I think Braeden can kind of, you know, dive into this a little bit further, but by having accurate pricing, by having rate parity the whole way through your transaction, by not starting out at one price and by the time the guest gets to checkout, the price is doubled, we lose conversions for all of those little things. Double bookings are going to be minimized based on syncing your calendars. You can take bookings while you sleep, especially on these channels like Booking.com, where international guests are looking at your properties. You can be asleep and take these reservations. Braeden mentioned ongoing advancements on our roadmap. We're looking at new channels. We're improving taxes. I know that's a huge headache for a lot of property managers. And we've got a new interface coming as well. But in terms of new channels, we're excited to announce that we're now live on Google.
Yeah, really exciting. Thanks, Matt. And I did want to talk about
hold on.
accuracy.
Woo! Yay! There you go. You guys weren't excited enough. I had to.
It is good to celebrate success. I usually just move on to the next problem, and this is a big one for us. We're really pumped. But you know, the price accuracy piece we take for granted. We assume like, hey, it's software. It's going to read what's coming through, and it's going to maintain that accuracy. We recently did a survey of our customer base, and the most popular response for what's the most important thing I look for in a channel manager is accuracy. And that wasn't even an option we provided. That was a write-in, and that was the most popular response. So it just underscores how critical it is and how much we kind of take that for granted. And as Matt said, there's a few things really unique to VRM where we've dialed in on that to make sure that that's the case for you all. So things like portal-specific rent adjustments, we've worked with Jonathan to ensure that we can reflect that. So that if you are setting pricing specific to an OTA and VRM, we're seeing that and respecting that. A lot of emphasis on making sure that your in-rent fees, add-on fees, all of those options are accurately represented and configurable and can be modified where needed. And to the double booking piece, another thing we're doing is we're checking with VRM software more frequently than the Vacation Bridge ever could. And so changes in availability, changes in pricing are going to be reflected in Boost before any other channel manager or software can get that. And that's really a result of that collaboration between our two engineering teams.
And automatic updates too, to pricing, rates, and availability. You won't have to submit a help ticket to get that updated. Boost will speak to your system and get that update automatically.
Yep. So for Google, boy, it's been a pretty wild year. It was a big push to get this live. As Matt said, this is a little bit of a compromise in the short term because we are representing Bluetent there. We've tried to minimize it as much as possible. And we're in contact with our contacts over at Google as frequently as we can to get the account structure we need to support individual branding. So for the time being, while folks are searching initially, you're going to see the exact logo you see on screen now, this Vacation Rentals by Bluetent. But as people progress through that funnel, as they find your inventory on what is the most trafficked search engine on earth, and it's going to stay that way for a little bit, you know, they're going to see as they get to the details page, and then when they want to learn more and come to checkout, your brand represented front and center. We have a little bit of attribution to Bluetent to make sure people understand they weren't sent to the wrong place. They still know that that Bluetent tie is there, hopefully adding some credibility. But the main piece that we want to get to as soon as possible is that end-to-end representation of your brand. In the short term, what you're seeing here is our checkout page, and that is where we are today. We're showing our customer brands at checkout. And I think one thing that makes Google really appealing to a lot of people is that when this reservation comes in, it's not going to Google and then you. We're not relaying that. This, for all intents and purposes, is a direct booking. There is no notice to Google. There is no middleman here. This checkout page is the same checkout page we could provide for a customer who's built a custom site with Bluetent. This is a direct checkout right into your software. And that means some really important things. You're not subject to any third-party cancellation policies, communication restrictions. If you need to modify a reservation, if you need to adjust pricing, if you want to offer optional charges and add-ons, there's no blocker on Google, and that's somewhat unique in the space. And so it's been a great tool for a lot of folks who've generally been a little bit hesitant about distribution, who want to maintain control of their business, know who's coming, know that it's on their terms. Google is unique in that it really meets that criteria. This is going to continue to evolve. It's a really fresh product on the Google side. We're seeing changes like every week in the spec. It's rapidly evolving. We're seeing it roll out to more and more markets every week. We've got some tracking tools out there that tell us when this interface is being triggered by certain search terms, so we can see it kind of grow across geographic and different markets. And so this is going to become more and more important. And we were talking with another Inhabit IQ partner over in the UK, SuperControl, which is another software. They've been in this space for a little while. And one thing they keep underscoring is how they've seen folks who got in early on Google being rewarded later. The fact is there's not a ton of traffic there yet. It is very emerging. And so it's a good opportunity to kind of get in when the stakes are a little lower, learn the landscape, and then be well positioned as someone who's reliable and credible, building up review history, et cetera, so that as Google ramps up traffic to that product, you're really well positioned to, relative to your competitors.
Google's also not charging as of today, so bookings are commission-free on the platform. So we're telling all our clients to get on there, learn the platform, and get as many commission-free bookings as possible.
Yeah,
and
kind of buried the lead there. The other piece is
yeah,
free.
right. And as Braeden mentioned, like if you've been hesitant about OTAs in the past, this is a great one to try. This is a great one to take a shot at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, another OTA that's extremely important to VRM clients is Vrbo. Braeden, I'll let you talk a little bit about what we have coming up with Vrbo.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I think most of you are aware, especially if you're on that last VRM webinar, Vrbo's implemented some pretty strict policies with regard to price accuracy, making sure that your pricing isn't changing as the customer goes through that booking process. And so today, our system is actually powering, it's the algorithm that is powering how pricing is communicated to Vrbo. So that's happening right now without anybody on this call having to take any action, maybe other than me. So this is powering your existing Vacation Bridge connection to Vrbo. And that's what's enabled that platform to stay live beyond the deadline at the end of this past month. So, but what that means is, we've really demonstrated by testing it in this context, we've got a really high degree of confidence that we can take all of those other tools that are in Boost and improve your listings beyond what the Vacation Bridge can do today. And so I actually have tomorrow our certification call with the Vrbo team. So this is still under development. It's very new. We've got 5 customers who are in kind of a pilot program right now, but we are rapidly moving through that and looking to make this available to all VRM customers as soon as we can. And it's progressing really nicely. So that process has been really valuable for us. Credit to Vrbo. They really do bring a very rigorous testing process. Relative to some of the other channels, there's not a lot of room for errors, for lack of feedback and things like that. So when you are set up on Vrbo through Boost, I hope that you'll have a really high degree of confidence that it's going to work well for you. We're really bullish about it. We know that it is a really keystone piece for a lot of folks' OTA portfolio, that it brings in most cases more business than the other channels, in some cases more business than all the other channels combined. And so we want to recognize that. We're taking it very important. This is not a casual, let's see how it goes. This is a mission critical, kind of business critical piece of functionality, and we're putting it through a process to really respect that. But we are very excited to have the full offering available prior to the Vacation Bridge end of life. We also have some hopefully compelling pricing and incentives to make sure that you're not up against that deadline and well positioned to have your inventory flowing through Boost before that end of life takes effect.
And a question I often get in my phone calls is, can I keep my listings? Can I keep my reviews? Can I keep my preferred host status? The answer is yes. Yeah, we want
absolutely.
you.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a great call out. Again, because we're representing your brand, there's actually a requirement here that we maintain that connection, because you have, in most cases, existing reservations. We need to make sure that modifications to that are taken into account. You've got a deep review history, inquiry history, your profile page, et cetera. So we are connecting to that existing channel, to your existing account. It's really just kind of a behind the scenes shift in the mechanism to get it there. So it shouldn't be a big event. There's not risk of, damage to your account, having to rebuild that presence on the channel or anything like that. This should be just kind of a subtle behind the scenes change, at least in terms of the guest and channel experience. So, I think if nothing else, what has really guided our approach with VRM to building this out is understanding our respective strengths and knowing that Bluetent is staffed with a team of engineers, with an implementation team, with a success team, all who've been steeped in this channel management world. Well, no one knows the VRM software better than the engineering team led by Jonathan over there. And so, we hope to see, faster feature development on that side, higher quality kind of growing over time. And we're talking about this like it's really new. It's not. We've been a VRM partner for some time. We have customers who've been on Boost using it for distribution to certain channels for years now. And so in most aspects, this is really well tested. As you see, there are 17 customers currently live, 2,500 listings live out on channels there. So we're doing pretty significant business today, but we see a real opportunity for kind of all boats to rise here and everybody to perform even better moving into the new year. So with that, want to make sure you understand that we get how challenging this can be. We get what the concerns are. We know that accounting is extraordinarily important. I think if there's anybody on this webinar who's a Boost customer today, know that we've been working really hard over the last few weeks to improve that reservation experience even more. Want to make sure that, if you are modifying your rates or offsetting commissions or even doing discounts or things like that, we've been working with that engineering team pretty significantly to make any work you have to do as those reservations come in as reduced as much as we can. And so Jonathan and Tracy have been great. They've provided some new mechanisms and capabilities for us to pass those in so that we can reduce the amount of accounting time that you have to spend on this. Minimizing that manual entry. In a lot of cases, it means absolutely none. Frequent updates, and above all, accurate pricing. So, if you can walk away with landing new customers, filling vacant properties, earning new business, expanding your shoulder season, hedging your risk against changes on any one channel, and do that while creating less work on your end and saving you some money, we couldn't be more excited to offer that kind of comprehensive solution. And this has been really the culmination of 6-8 months of work with our respective engineering teams. We're pretty excited.
Yeah, as a guy out on the sales front, I just have to say it's been pretty fascinating to watch you guys work hand in hand and all of you've accomplished. So I'm really excited with where it's at, and the future is going to be even brighter. At this point, we're gonna introduce Stephanie Weiland. She's the Director of Rental Services at Coastal Realty and Property Management. One of our favorite clients here at Bluetent. We've had the opportunity to work with her in a number of ways, through websites, through Boost, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her experience.
Hi everyone, I'm really happy to be here today.
Hey Tracy,
Hi.
we'll let you take over the Q&A.
Yeah, I get the pleasure of asking Stephanie some questions. And I'm so technical today, I actually had to I got my screen, my questions on my phone. I feel like it's my teleprompter. So for me, it's super techie today. Stephanie, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time. Like we said, first right off at the beginning of today's webinar, in case maybe you joined a little bit late, Stephanie is a VRM client. She's just like you, using VRM software, and she is currently using Boost. So I no better person to talk to you guys about what it's like than straight from your own. So that's, we were so excited to have Stephanie agree to be here today. So we have a couple of questions for you, Stephanie. And if, hopefully they're not too painful or too hard. If they are, you can plead the fifth. We'll allow it. You can phone a friend. All right.
Right now, which is good.
So first off, and I would imagine that a lot of people watching today, or people who watch the replay later, would come to you and ask you this question exactly. What were the problems or inefficiencies that you were experiencing before you switched over to Boost? Like, why did you go to Boost in the first place?
Well, when we heard that VRM was essentially deactivating Vacation Bridge in the summer of last year, I immediately went to our broker and owner, Judy Alligood, and I said, I think we need to start researching into this right away. I don't think we should wait on it, and let's go ahead and see what we can find. And we had heard of Bluetent before VRM even recommended them to us in the webinar introducing them in the summer. We had considered using them in the past for digital marketing services, and at the time it wasn't the right point for us to do so. But we went back to Bluetent. There were other services besides channel management that we were also interested in too. We had a number of micro websites that were not direct booking capable, that we wanted to be direct booking capable, which is why you see so many of our websites as being Rezfusion Cloud sites. We have a total of 12 of them with them. And we also wanted some digital marketing services, SEO, SEM management. So we also signed up with Bluetent for that at the time. And the biggest issue that we had with Vacation Bridge, we had about 100 or so units on Airbnb and about 50 or so on Vrbo. And the biggest problem that we had with the Airbnb integration, which was very new through Vacation Bridge at the time that we started it, which was about May of 2019, which was when VRM released it. We went on right away and we set up, like I said, about 100 units or so. The hardest part of it was that the fact that the VRM rate table, it only took the daily rate from the VRM admin console and put that over to Airbnb. So what we found was that any discounts that we wanted, any commissions that we wanted to increase because Airbnb charges commission, that would ultimately affect the rate that was shown on our guest website. And we, of course, didn't want to, out-compete ourselves with our local market as well as on Airbnb. So it was very difficult finding a good balance so that we met those two criteria. So we were very happy that Boost had the length of stay pricing, where we had our daily, weekly, and monthly rates all programmable in VRM that were able to be sent over there. The other thing that was a bit of a challenge as well with the Vacation Bridge was the fact that the house rules and the discounts were applied to all of our units. They couldn't be drilled down to individual properties because we mostly do condominiums here in St. Augustine. And they all have different rates. They all have different minimum stay requirements. And it's hard to set up a discount for a property that's only 3 nights versus 7 nights. And again, finding that balance between setting up the appropriate rate was challenging. So it was nice to be able to have our advertised rate that we normally used on our website transfer seamlessly over to the OTA.
All right. Well, and I think you have pretty much answered the second question, which was how has Boost solved the problems and inefficiencies? But is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
The other thing, I know Braeden mentioned this earlier, is the fact that Boost has the built-in commission settings. I think that is a huge marketing aspect when we talk to rental owners, not just because we are partners with Bluetent in general, but also too, our owners don't have to pay out of pocket for those Airbnb commissions or those booking.com commissions. They are already built in. It's passed over to the guest without them realizing it as an invisible markup, and the owner doesn't have to pay for it.
Very cool. All right, question number 3. So far, you're doing really good. You haven't had a phone a friend. I know people are going to ask this question when they ask questions of Boost or anything else. Is is this going to take me more time? You know, is this going to be too time consuming? And you know, really struggling with learning something new and having the time for that. So, has using Boost saved you time in the long run? You know, with any kind of learning curve in the front, or is it taking you more time? Tell us about your time consumption with Boost.
It saved us certainly time as far as setting up properties onto the listings, because everything is essentially done within VRM. There's a few things that you have to set up within Boost if you want to drill it down by properties, and again, set up your actual house rules per unit. It's very specified for that, which is, you know, a great advantage of it. But as far as setting up your properties, your pictures, your amenities, that's all coming in from VRM. In Vacation Bridge, you actually had an extra step where you have to go over to the system configuration for the Vacation Bridge portal and actually create your own amenities there and apply another description. But your same descriptions that you use for your guest website, that's all brought over onto the OTA. There's nothing different that you're going to have to set up within Boost. It all just filters over.
And I'd love to touch on that just a little bit deeper, because I recall maybe about 6 months ago, Stephanie and I spoke on the phone briefly, and I was just doing some outreach because she had a support ticket in, and I kind of wanted to understand how things were going. And one of the things she told me was really helpful for her in managing properties was we have this concept of property classes in Boost, where you're able to manage a lot of your listings kind of in bulk and create segments of them. So if that's maybe 1-bedroom condos or properties with different length of stay restrictions, as she kind of hinted at earlier, it really is built to help you segment out your inventory and merchandise it appropriately. And it gives you a lot of tools for that. One thing we haven't talked about yet is the new interface that we're launching. We've put quite a bit of effort into increasing the power of our bulk management tools, so you can very easily and quickly, if you need to update, you know, text or policies or content on 5 or 500 listings, we've got one place you can do that, easily select the properties you want to modify, and then save that. So I think it is worth calling out. It's kind of a key value proposition of Boost, because it's been built for professionals from the start. That ability to manage things in bulk and efficiently has been kind of really core to our approach on the interfaces.
Awesome. All right, Stephanie, what features and functionalities did Boost provide that you didn't have previously? I think, again, you probably answered a few of these, but is there anything else that you can think of?
Again, the LOS, the length of stay pricing, the house rules that I mentioned earlier, the ability to add the commissions. I love that when you first log in to Boost, you're able to see with very colorful graph how many reservations, how much revenue you make from each OTA. And since we're connected right now to Airbnb and booking.com, we're able to see that at a glance. I also love too how the Boost communication system goes to our email address if there's ever a problem with a reservation not filtering into VRM correctly, which is a rare occurrence, but it's just nice that kind of Boost has your support system there, and it just, you know, contacts you whenever there is a connection issue. Again, I think those are really the core features that I think are the most important that we didn't have before.
All right. And what is your favorite feature about Boost?
My favorite feature about Boost is that it has a direct integration with VRM. Our company wouldn't even consider going with any other channel management platform that was not directly connected with VRM. And the fact that it is a great connection, that Bluetent takes its time to, like Braeden mentioned, do quality over quantity. I would rather partner with a company that really takes the time to have a strong core connection with an OTA than one that has multiple, dozens of connections to all these little ones, and you don't have accurate rates, you don't have a consistent connection. That would just cause more problems from the start.
We like that too. All right. And I think you kind of answered this too, but you might have a different answer. Is what's your favorite part about working with Bluetent?
My favorite part about working with Bluetent is that they are one of the best digital marketing service agencies in the nation. And that is true because they are premier partners with Google, with Airbnb, with Booking.com. They are professional. Anytime I need them, even though we're 3 hours apart on each other's coasts of the country, I feel like I can get somebody in their support department the same day when I put in a help ticket. If I have an issue with something, it's usually a supervisor or a director that contacts me, asks to jump on a phone call. I feel like our company is a priority to Bluetent.
Wow, that's a very powerful statement. I like that. She feels like her company is a priority to Bluetent. That's fabulous. Somebody should write that down somewhere. Make an infographic. And I don't know if this Bluetent team ever sleeps, guys. I'm not really sure if they actually sleep or not. They may all be vampires. They are. If I message somebody and it's 6, 7 o'clock I'm on the East Coast too. They're there. 9 o'clock. They're there. They're always there.
Less and less these days. Less and less sleep these days, anyway.
And I think that actually is a great, a legitimate, I don't even think it'd be a concern, but something that a bulk of our customers, our VRM clients are on the East Coast. They are on the Eastern time zone. So, and we get that. We have people ask us, what time zone are you in? You guys are in Mountain Time, right? Your headquarters, we're in Eastern, both of us are. So it's a legitimate concern. I think that's a really great point that Stephanie brings up to kind of give you a peace of mind if that's a concern at all for you.
No, it's not.
All right. Say that again.
It's never been an issue at all.
It's great to hear. My last question, I think, would be, what would you say to a VRM client, a fellow VRM client who is on the fence about signing up with Bluetent, Boost specifically, or any of their other products?
Like I mentioned earlier, I think that the fact that they're premier partners with everybody that they work with is very telling. It means that they have been around a while, they're knowledgeable about their product, and the really great thing is that we as clients get to benefit from that because they get firsthand experience and knowledge from Google, from Airbnb. They're the ones that get the algorithms first and all the updates to the system. And then that gets passed on into Boost, which is of course going to increase our visibility on these OTAs. So we benefit from their benefit by being a partner with them. I also like the fact that you all are sister companies under the same umbrella, which tells me that you all communicate closely with each other and you're going to be, more in tune to whenever there's an issue with, one of your platforms to work it out and work together. I think that's very important as well. You're not, you're not two separate entities that, well, you just so happen to manage or to work with them. You're actually connected through an umbrella company. And I think that's important as well. Also too, we did it in the fall, the transfer over, and I think that that was the best time of year to do it before the snowbirds came down, and it really helped to, again, make it easy to train our managers to work with the system and get them knowledgeable about it before January hit, and we were dealing with all of those snowbirds, just trying to get them settled in. So I think if you are seriously considering doing this, you know your deadline is the end of March, and really research and look into Bluetent as a viable option, because I don't think you're going to be disappointed with it, because we certainly haven't been.
That's amazing. Yay.
Yeah, thanks for those kind words.
Stephanie.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And we didn't pay Stephanie to do this. She doesn't get like a discount on anything. Like
we sent her a lot of Bluetent socks, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh, candle. We got that too.
Dude, where's my socks? I'm still waiting on socks. So, all right.
We'll get some out, Tracy.
For my socks. We want to just reiterate something that Stephanie has said. Of course, I didn't know she was going to say this, but she did mention that they transitioned in the fall. And I don't know if you guys have looked at a calendar lately, but fall is like right there. You can see it. It's on the page of the calendar this month. So we understand that a lot of our clients are looking at a bit of an extended season this year, especially our North Carolina, South Carolina clients. I don't think Labor Day is going to be a hard stop like it is sometimes. I do think people are traveling a bit more. They're staying a little bit longer. So we realize, that end of summer may not be coming as quickly as traditional. However, fall is on the horizon. And with that, Bluetent does have a special that they're offering VRM clients. I'm gonna have them talk to you guys about that, but I cannot reiterate what we don't want to happen is if you're currently on Vacation Bridge using any of those connections, we don't want to see you wait till last minute and then cause stress or anxiety. We want this process to be smooth for you. We want to be your partner in this transition. We want to be able to hold your hand and give you all the attention and the time that you deserve. For being a Boost and a VRM client. And the best ways that we can help you do that is to get you on the implementation calendar early. And these guys can explain it more, but from my understanding, doesn't mean signing up today doesn't mean you have to launch today, but it gets you a spot on their calendar. So I'm gonna let them tell you about that. And what we also want to see is, I don't know if you guys remember what happens between the fall and March is this thing called the holidays. And so we also don't want to tie up your holidays with trying to wade through all this stuff. So we've got a window now with a little bit of window, late winter into the, that late part of spring. So guys, tell us about this through September 30th. What's going on?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, you get signed up before the end of the month. You don't have to get started right away. We can work on a start date that's convenient for you. We'd like to get more people in sooner rather than later to avoid a big rush in the spring, especially with summer business coming up at that point in time. But we're actually offering 1.25% commission for those that sign up in September. When I first started reaching out to VRM clients, our price was 3%. So it's been cut significantly since then. And the technology has gotten even better. So if you're not able to sign up this month, pricing is still going to remain very, very strong at 1.5%, excuse me. But there is incentive to at least get on our calendar, get signed up, and get yourself a slot.
And we have set up our implementation team so that we have slots specifically for the VRM clientele. We've basically parsed out about 10 VRM specific spots per week, running beginning in November all the way through a short time before the deadline to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be live, tested, confident before the end of life. But to Stephanie and Maddie's point, you don't want to sit on this. You don't want to be left out. You don't want to be in a position where you don't have distribution for any period of time. So even if you're not able to start right away, letting us get that commitment and make sure that we have time set aside for you I think protects everybody and is something I would highly recommend.
Yeah, if you have individual questions, we'd love to show you a demo, love to walk you through the platform and talk about any concerns you might have. At this point, we're going to open it up to a Q&A. Let's see if we have any.
I didn't see any in the queue.
Well, I'm happy to address a lot of the questions that I get on my calls. The first one, like I said, is you can keep your current listings, you can keep preferred host status and transfer that over. Another question I get is if you're currently set up on Airbnb or Booking.com, we could start working on your project next week. Those two channels are up and driving a lot of revenue. Vrbo, we're very, very close, but if you wanted to start on those other channels, we could get started right away. Tracy, any other questions that you field from VRM clients?
I think that a lot of them, Stephanie actually already answered. I know that there's obviously still some hesitancy and maybe just a lot of question marks revolving around Vacation Bridge and the just kind of moving people off of that. So we want to make sure that everybody has a clear understanding of that. And this webinar is not the place for that. So I just want to say, if you still have questions about Vacation Bridge, the moving off Vacation Bridge for these 4 specific OTAs, and that's what we're working on right now. So we're not working on anything else right now. That's the first kind of step in this process, is getting everybody over to Boost for Vrbo, sorry, I almost said VRBO, Vrbo, Airbnb, Booking.com, and Google. And then there will be some next steps after that. And so we're just working on one piece of the puzzle at a time. But if you did have questions, you can always continue to reach out to us at vacationbridge@vrmgr.com, or just send in the help ticket. We'll get those questions answered for you if you have really specific questions. But I think just reiterating again, people are asking why. And I think that the question why, which Maddie answered early on, I just want to reiterate that is these guys do this for a living. Like this is what they do. Their Boost team specifically works on the development and the updates for their channel management with Vrbo, Airbnb, Booking.com, and Google. And there are so many pieces to that puzzle that it takes all of our team's efforts to try to keep those things updated. And our focus should be on your software. So we want our focus to be on your software because our sister company, Boost, Bluetent, Boost has a team already dedicated to that. So it just makes sense. It just makes total sense for us. It gives us the opportunity to all serve you better. So we don't want any trepidation around that. We did have a question just come in. When is the projected Vrbo date?
Ooh, as soon as it's ready. But no, so we have our first kind of certification is actually tomorrow. We are still targeting the end of this month for Vrbo availability. So we're pushing hard to hit that date, crossing our fingers and staying up a little extra late to make sure that happens.
Fantastic. And that is an arduous process. So I hope everybody kind of can understand and appreciate the depth to which Boost is going to get Vrbo fully onboarded and making it available as a piece of their channel management. It's a big deal.
I have one thing to add. If people are hesitant because of the number of units that they have, I mentioned at the beginning of our session that we started with about 100 or so units on Airbnb. We now have 350 on all channels that we're connected with. So the number of units is really inconsequential. I mean, the setup of it is, with anything, it has a learning curve, but you have an assigned implementation manager and they're there for you if you have any issues at all, and they'll help you through it. And again, the benefits certainly outweigh anything that you go through as far as the headache of any transition that you make. And just alone with our Labor Day reservations, we've had dozens of last minute reservations in the last 2 weeks, all from Airbnb and from booking.com. So that's really exciting to see. And we've also had a few one-on-one sessions with our new implementation manager for Google VR, and it's amazing. And when Braeden says it's like a direct booking, it is. It is a seamless rate accuracy compared to what's in VRM to what's on Google. And I'm so excited that there's no commission on it right now, and I can't wait for us to go live on it within the next week or two.
So just to reiterate, right now, Google is not charging any commission fees. So you can sign up with Boost and then get connected to Google and have no commission fee from Google and be an early adopter of Google, which imagine having been an early adopter of Vrbo or Airbnb, you know, being one of the first. I mean, just imagine that, and your credibility and your rankings and all of that. I mean, it's huge. And if you think about, you know, kind of like, oh, I wish I would have bought some stock in Google, you know, 10, 15 years ago, you would be pretty well off right now. I wish I would have been an early adopter of some stock. So yeah, I think that is an amazing benefit and little plus, a perk for going ahead and signing up now. Todd Plumley wants to know, what does Airbnb and booking.com charge on their bookings?
Got it. Todd, great question. The answer is somewhat, it depends. There are some variables there. But I think with Airbnb right now, it's pretty straightforward. For most North American customers, they're going to be charged a 3% host fee. That fee can go up to 5% in some instances when you use a more strict cancellation policy. They've actually temporarily paused collecting that 5%, and all commissions through Airbnb are 3% right now. That's because they're not holding on to the money as long as they normally would. Has to do with their payout schedule. So for Airbnb, it's a 3% host fee. They do plan to introduce a host-only fee. Some of you may be aware, Airbnb also charges a guest fee. They're giving customers in North America the option, but not the requirement, to absorb all of those fees. Why would you do that? Who's going to raise their hand and volunteer to pay, 14% over 3? There actually are some good reasons. The net price to the guest doesn't necessarily change if you're offsetting that cost, and they're presented with a more simplified checkout experience. They see fewer fees. The guest is seeing fewer fees at checkout. And there's good reason to believe that customers using that format stand to benefit in search engine in the ranking algorithm on Airbnb as well. Obviously couldn't confirm that, but it certainly stands to reason, and there's some evidence of that. So 3% if you want to incur a guest fee. I believe it's 14% right now for the host only fee. Booking.com is individually negotiated, so you'll generally need to talk to them to get a confirmation on your commission. Most customers I speak to have about an average commission of 15%, and that is on rents and fees.
And just to be clear,
Google's the screaming deal at 0 right now.
Right. Sign me up for Google. Just to be clear, in case I were a newbie to all of this, in case I had not ever used any OTA channels and or channel management, just clarify the process of what that looks like. So from my understanding, you go and you have to set up an account. So with Google, set up your account with Airbnb, with Booking.com, and then you have your Boost account in the middle. Is that correct, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think broadly that's true. So you'll need an Airbnb account. They've fantastic materials out there. There's nothing to stop you from creating that today. If you want to start building out your description, get a nice photo up there. You can do that without any connectivity. If you want to wade into these waters, you can also manually manage a small subset of your property. I think most of our customers see pretty quickly that that's not sustainable, keeping up with availability and things like that. But it's certainly an option if you're really unsure about it. So first thing you'll need is an account. That's true for both Airbnb and Booking. Booking is a little bit more of a process to get set up. They've got some paperwork. You're going to sign a contract. Airbnb is a little bit more of that kind of modern software as a service experience. Google is the exception right now. Google, there's not a requirement for you to create an account. There's actually not an ability right now. So this is all flowing through our account. They will be rolling out sub-accounts at some point so that we can have some shared visibility there. And on some timeline, they're very likely to roll out monetization of this. They're going to charge for it someday. And so it's very likely to be structured similar to their hotel product, which works out of the ad center. So if you're familiar with Google Ads, formerly AdWords, this is going to feel really familiar. And that's where we would have a co-managed account where we can be managing spend or you can be managing spend. But that's way on the horizon, to be clear. They've not tipped their hat at any sort of monetization just yet. The hints we've gotten on it are that if and when that comes, it's going to be as a sidecar to the current free solution. It might be a way to get kind of premium placement, but to be on the platform, it's going to remain free for the foreseeable future. So that's the latest that I've heard from Google.
Right, and it looks like Jessie and I were on the same page because she asked the exact same question about Google specifically, which you already answered. So, but thank you for your question, Jessie.
Awesome.
So great news. I already had one of our clients email me and said, sign me up. So I guess my question is, who's next? We got one wanting a spot. We want to get you guys moved over in order to take advantage of that 0% commission from Google. You're ready to implement if you're wanting to get on Vrbo early with a Boost connection, and we don't want you scrambling at the last minute. And I think that this webinar was not intended to be, and we're at our hour, but I just want to remind everyone to kind of put this in their thinking cap as they're thinking through this process or discussing it with their team, or if you're like in Stephanie's position, you need to go talk to your principal about these decision makings. Is that our tradition right now is kind of out the window, right? We can look back at last year, the year before. We can try to take some best guesses of what projections are going to look like the year ahead. But this has been an abnormal year for us, an abnormal season for our industry. Traditionally, we love that our VRM clients have such a high rate of repeat guests, direct bookings. I mean, that is just a powerful testimony. It's a powerful testimony of your business and the hard work that you have done to establish just that credibility that families want to return to you year after year, and that you have a direct connection with your market. It's beautiful. But in what we're seeing right now with people being able to take one of our VRM clients emailed me today, she goes, I learned a new word. It's called workcation. We've all heard staycation. Well, how about a workcation? I'm on the fence of how I feel about that, but nonetheless, you gotta live a little. So
it used to be bleisure, now it's flexcation.
So but it's a reality. People are working from home. They're getting bored of their own four walls. They want to get out. They want to take advantage of some fresh air and change of scenery. So can people come for 2 weeks? Can they come for a month? Can they come for a short stay? And then what we're going to see is going to be much different going into the year ahead than what we've seen behind us and traditionally. And so I think that the conversation about OTAs and your need to be on them has shifted some, because there's some low-hanging fruit out there that is ripe for the picking, that you could be taking advantage of by being on these OTA channels. So we want to see you getting more bookings, right? Nobody would complain about that, right? That's the whole point of today. We're boost your bookings. We want you to get more bookings. We want that to be to add to your bottom line, and we want to see you thrive even through this crazy marketplace that we've waded through the last few months. So does anybody else on the panel have anything they want to add before we close today?
Yeah, I was just going to say that if you're looking for more information or you'd like to get signed up, you can fill out the Connect form on our website, or you can also email us at sales@bluetent.com.
We also heard from Stephanie earlier, one of the main reasons she went with Boost was our support for varying pricing plans. If you can't get enough geeking out on pricing plans and making sure that your rates are accurate, I'll actually be on a panel next week. If anybody's planning on attending the Vacation Rental Data and Revenue Management Conference, I'll be speaking on a panel specifically on distributing pricing to the various OTAs and talking through whether you want to be involved with lodging rates, length of stay, and some of the variations in there. So if you really want to geek out on pricing, we're going to go deep on that next week.
All right. Well, as always, we will have a webinar replay ready for you. Try to have that to you tomorrow. So we will email that to you. And if you don't get it in your inbox, it will be on the admin console for a few days. And if you can't find it there, it'll be on our blog. So there should be no reason why you cannot find the replay information for this or the bluetent.com/connect with us that's on the screen, or the sales@bluetent.com. But I'll make sure that's included in the email that we send out to you. We're gonna make it super easy for you. Even with a link included, all you do is push the button and you can zip right on over to Bluetent and get that filled out. But if you can't, you know how to reach me at tracy.sanderson@virtualresortmanager.com. Send in a help ticket. We've got all the ways, so there's no excuses to get signed up early with Boost. And let's make sure that you are on the road to success for your channel management. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Vacation managers, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. We know that an hour out of your day is no small thing, and we recognize that, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we wouldn't be here talking to you for an hour if we didn't think it brought a lot of value to you and your business. So until next time, please take care of yourself, and we will see you again soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Stephanie.